Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Luke from Astro Awakening, and here is your astrology for the week ahead, beginning the 10th, 11th of August, 2025. Now, before we begin today's video, I want to just draw your attention to this pattern that you can see up here on the chart that I have behind me. And it looks like there's a kite position here. You can see the tail of the kite here, the head here, and this would be where the string would tie onto that you sort of pull on it. Another sort of shape that could be looked at here is like a diamond figure. Now, this is because we have Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn, Neptune in Aries, and Uranus in Gemini. Now, those outer planets are all in sort of alignment either via sextile or trine. And any planet now that comes to the 0, 1 degree of Libra, which is where Mars is at the moment, is going to trigger this grand trine kite. So grand trine between Mars, Uranus, Pluto, and then the kite when we bring in the Neptune, Saturn energy on 0, 1 degrees of Aries. Now, what does this represent? This represents an activation. Whenever a planet is going to activate a particular alignment, it's going to activate whatever is latently already here in relation to the Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto energy. Okay, so whatever they represent, when this Mars comes onto the end, it's a trigger for it. So what is being triggered and activated is the shift of these planetary energies and their correlation to the evolution or transformation of consciousness. So what we're going to do is break each of these down as we look at the week ahead. We'll take a look at this big broad alignment. Now, Mars on the end of this can be like a little bit of a match, a bit of a trigger. Mars in the tarot is the Tower card, the card of destruction. And Mars energy can be used for construction or destruction. And it depends on whether we're coming from our lower self or our higher self, whether we're channeling our Mars energy for constructive and productive purposes or destructive purposes. Now, we start this week, or let's say we end last week, with a big potent full moon in Aquarius. So we've already got a lot of heightened energy, a lot of culminating energy, a lot of energy coming to release. And then we have this kite figuration here, which sort of activates a lot of this planetary energy. So Pluto into Aquarius, the dark stuff coming to light in the collective consciousness in relation to what's operating from below a level of awareness, hidden, concealed, or occulted, is coming to light. So there's a lot of information, there's a lot of, sharing of content that is bringing light to just how fucked up the system, Aquarius, the systems that sort of control and bind society, culture, and community. And we're seeing that because we're seeing a lot of this dark stuff come to light. Now, Pluto in Aquarius is going to go on until 2044, and it started in 2023. So we're into this sort of energy at the moment. However, you bring Uranus into Gemini and it triggers a trine to that energy. And all of a sudden, there is a sort of a tendency to create a little bit more anxiety, a little bit more of unexpected energy, a little bit more chaotic energy, sudden unexpected changes, revelations. One of the key hallmarks of Uranus energy is to reveal something to us, to unveil something. And what's being revealed is often something from our higher mind or higher level of consciousness. And then we have Saturn Neptune in Aries. And the Saturn Neptune conjunction comes around every 38 or so years. And the last time it was in Capricorn coincided with the collapse of the Soviet Union and the breakdown of the Berlin Wall. And this time we're having the Saturn Neptune effect, also creating a lot of disillusionment with the current status quo, the ruling class, those in positions of power and authority and control, the bosses, right, of this reality, or at least the ones that sort of proclaim to be that, we're having a lot of disillusionment. No, so this is also disillusionment with the system. When we look at the system that controls society and how we function, how we relate, and how we govern, and how we rule, and how we defend, all those types of things, the political engine, the governmental sort of bureaucracy. What we're doing with this Saturn Neptune energy is we're coming into this, it's like, what the hell is this nightmare? What is this fuckery? What is this? How did we get here? Well, we got here because we've been asleep at the wheel. But these 3 and 4, if you add Saturn, outer planets moving into new signs, consciousness is shifting. And as we're waking up and we're seeing this more and more, we're realizing like we're screwed. If the people themselves don't create the change through revolution or uprising or a complete just disconnection and non-consent to the system and to the traditional sort of structures of this system, then there is no way that anyone operating within it is going to be our savior. That's going to be a topic for another video that's coming shortly. We're ending the age of the savior. We're coming into the age of awakening, the age of Christ consciousness, waking up within each of us, and the age of knowing, out of the age of belief. And what do we know? We know unless individually we do something about this, in other words, the people, unless the people do something about this, those in positions of power and control and authority have completely disregarded the collective. Completely. They're either bought out, sold out, soulless, self-serving, working for big business, big corporations, working for those behind the veiled sort of secrecy, the occult, the hidden handshakes in the back rooms, the secret societies, those initiated, not for the people at all. And the propaganda machine, the political pundits and the media, we're looking at that and we're doing what? What is this? One good thing to come out of the Pluto, my hand is backwards in this because I'm mirroring it. The Pluto into Aquarius and Uranus into Gemini is we the people, we're the media. We are the media. We're going to present the story now. We're going to take control of the story and the narrative, and we're going to be the ones to say, hey, you know what? This is what's going on. And if that's one good thing that we can use social media for, is information that we can share. Now, yes, you have to be careful, you have to be discerning, but there's a lot of information, good quality information that's coming to light that they would never air on mainstream television. They would never have some political leader come out and sort of say what's going on and to what extent and who's doing what. There's very, very few people. However, we the people, we are the citizen journalists now. So we're able to connect and share and spread information rapidly with the use of social media. I will stress we must use discernment. So what this Mars trigger, and there's going to be more triggers because every planet, the moon every month, and soon to be Venus, then there's going to be an eclipse running across this point. There's going to be so many planets running across the 0, 1 degrees of Libra that's going to trigger this kite position. So we're going to continue to have this, and it's going to continue to spark shifts of awareness and consciousness and changes within the collective awareness. So the impact that that's going to have is things that you see now when you look out to the world and you think, what the fuck is this? How did we get here? What the hell's going on? The government's lost the plot. The political leaders are no longer, or they haven't been for a very long time, but we're just more aware of it now, is that they do not at all do for the benefit of the people. They hide things behind the green agenda and climate change and net zeros and all those types of things, which sounds good and it's a nice advertising campaign, but ultimately it's just to fuck the little guy and to maintain their power and control and to funnel our wealth and resources into, unseen entities. So
this is not going to change without us being the ones to take control of that change. And this Mars trigger now, even though it's debilitated in Libra, this maybe the realization is like it's on us. It really is on us. Now, we're not going to wait for a savior, someone's going to, no, you are the person. You are the person with your awareness and with the returning of the knowledge, the knowing of who you are, what you are, when you are. When you awaken the quality of Christ consciousness within, you will recognize your relationship with the divine and the hierarchical order that needs to be reinstated rather than putting anything like a government or a law or a head of state or anything above the person, the living sovereign man, because the only thing that becomes the living sovereign man or woman is the connection to source and God. Through the age of Pisces, we fell asleep and got disconnected from that. So this is where a lot of this mess sort of emerged from in the last couple of thousand years. But this is part of the alignments that's bringing a shift to our consciousness. Now, the first phase of any change is always revelation. We see things differently. Something's revealed or unveiled, so we can look at our world around us differently. And that's what this is. This is the grey unveiling, the revelation. Right? What's that going to require? It's going to require integrating the revelation into changes within our core behavior and being, and what we consent to or give consent to. So big energy to start the week on the back of the Aquarian full moon, Leo Aquarius axis, right? The self and the group. And how do I, little me and I, fit into this big wide world? Well, the realization is they've kept you disempowered, disconnected, separated, divided by everything you know to man to realize that each of us are the problem, and that's why that gives relevance to the system. We need them to protect us. We need them to take control and teach us. What are we realizing? Hang on, at the core of it, we're all human beings. Yeah, we might have some differences. We might have some differences in our background, our cultural, our historical background, our race, our ancestry, and those types of things. But fundamentally, what are we? We're all fucking human. That's the realization to make is that they continue to use our differences to create separation and division, and these are the very things that are going to bind us and unite us. As you can see, Sagittarian rising, quite the optimist. So let's dive into the astrology for the week ahead now that you're all jacked up and ready.
So on the back of that full moon in Aquarius, the moon is now entered into Pisces, where it will be until sort of late on Tuesday afternoon. And the waning moon on the back of the full moon in Pisces, this can bring a lot of unstable emotions to the surface. Now, the full moon was in Aquarius. Aquarius being an air sign, air is about consciousness. It's about seeing, it's about objectivity, it's about clarity, it's about separating from the self and looking at the big picture. Gives us that sort of higher mind perspective. So it's always going to, full moon in Aquarius is always going to impact on our conscious awareness. But then we take that shift of our awareness and we get a revelation. We go, aha. And we put the moon waning through Pisces. Then the other part of this is going to be some emotions that need to be dealt with and resolved. Now, moon through Pisces is a good time to check in with your spiritual connection, meditation, quiet contemplation and reflection. We want to isolate, we want to quieten down, we want to spend time. We want to give ourselves the space and time to process those emotions. And be mindful as well that other people are going to be more emotionally sensitive off the back of that full moon. So as we enter the week into Monday, the moon going through Pisces, we also have Mercury about to station direct. So on Monday, Mercury will turn direct after his retrograde through Leo at 4 degrees of Leo. Now, anytime a planet like an inner planet, Mercury, Venus, or Mars, is going to station retrograde or direct, it's the day of, day around, and the day after that we're going to have the most intensification of that energy. So a planet turning direct is less challenging than a planet turning retrograde. However, we still have to deal with communication, transportation, navigation, and we have to deal with the potential for challenges in those areas. Misread communication, not allowing enough time with your transportation to and from work or wherever you're heading off to, forgetting things, not writing them down, misinterpreting what someone else is writing, having the retrograde regret. So back on the back of that Aquarius full moon in Pisces, we're a little bit more emotionally vulnerable and stable. Sometimes too with Pisces new moon, where are we? We're off with the fairies. We're in the dream state. We're sort of, and when then we're not consciously present. And therefore, as Mercury turns direct, we might be prone to the fuck up, the occasional accident, the misdemeanor, the bump the toe on the coffee tables type of experience. So be mindful of that. Um, Pause, be present, observe. Take time out to step back and just get clarity, especially if you're going to rush off into something. Just make sure that you're aware that things might not go to plan and to have a backup. And that, if you are doing something that takes a lot of, concentration and discernment, then make sure you give yourself a bit of time and space. And if you've got important travel plans, then add a little extra time Monday morning, Monday afternoon. Make sure you're allowing and catering for the possibility of the communication, transportation, navigation breakdown. So as we move into Tuesday and Wednesday, the moon is going to be done in Pisces and then move into Aries. But as it does, it's going to trigger the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And, we can be very irritable with the Aries waning moon because we're a little impulsive, we're a little rash, we're a little emotionally fucking fired up. So then we're going to run into this Saturn Neptune energy, and it's like, what is real and what isn't real? And there is no sort of, clarity around that. It's like, well, fucking, I don't know anymore. And especially, with the AI factor with regards to its influence within media, all forms of different media, it's hard to know. It's hard to know what's real and what isn't real. But that's not the main thing that's going on for us on Tuesday. In fact, the main thing going on for us on Tuesday is going to be the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. It's happening around 14 degrees of Cancer. Now, this alignment happens roughly every 12 to 13 months when the planet of love and money and meets up with the planet of luck, opportunity, and abundance. So it's an auspicious time once a year that we can tune into the qualities of love, value, and relationship, as well as abundance, luck, and opportunity with Jupiter. Now, you'll hear a lot of people saying this is one of the luckiest days of the year, and it might be for some, but not for everyone. So, how do you know if this energy is really going to be impacting you in your chart? You want to look to your birth chart. You want to look to where 14 degrees of Cancer sits in your chart. Does it activate via an aspect one of your personal planets, your ascendant, your midheaven? Is it happening in your second house? Do you have Cancer on the cusp of your second house over here? Being the house of money. Okay, so you might not necessarily have it there, but maybe you have it in your fifth house, and this has got to do with your children or romance. Maybe it's your seventh house and you're lucky in love. Maybe it's your 10th house, and this is going to be around career. If we're dealing it with it in its context purely to the side of money, um, what I would want to see is that that conjunction of Jupiter and Venus makes either an alignment to the planet that rules your second house. So whatever the planet that rules your second house, if Venus and Jupiter are making an alignment to that, this could be a very auspicious time for money. If it's making a positive alignment to your ascendant or your sun, then it also could be good time for you personally. So you really have to know your own birth chart. Now, that reminds me, if you haven't had your birth chart read and you'd like to get a session, I'm going to flash up on the screen here a little code that you can use, which is an exclusive deal for you guys. So if you want to book in this week, I have availability Thursday and Friday. I'm also doing a lot of past life and subconscious regression therapy at the moment. So the deal is also, or the discount deal is also available for that. If just Venus and Jupiter on their own represented luck and abundance for everyone, then everyone would be rich. And that's not the case. And the reason for that being is because just because there's something happening for us collectively, cosmically, doesn't mean that everyone's going to experience it in the same way. So to know for you if it's going to be personal, then you need to be looking into your birth chart and looking around, where does this alignment happen, first of all, and then what does it trigger within my birth chart? And is that positive for me in what way? For some people, it's just not even going to be anything at all. And for other people, it could be a very auspicious day where they're extremely lucky. One of the qualities that you can tune into when you're in Cancer is a sign of giving, of nurture, of caring, of nourishment. Venus, the planet of love, Jupiter, the planet of abundance. So why not give someone the feeling of love and abundance on Tuesday? Go out of your way to pay it forward, bank some karma. Be the positive change you want to see in this world, in someone else's life in some small way. And that'll be a really good use of the Jupiter-Venus annual conjunction. That Aries moon is going to take us through till Thursday. And then when we get to Thursday, we have the moon moving in. It'll be late Thursday afternoon, the moon moving into Taurus. We will see that Taurus moon see us out till late Sunday afternoon. And that Taurus moon is the exalted moon, right? That's a bit more stability coming back for us towards the middle half and end of next week. And Taurus is all about our sensory experience. So, our five sensory experiences that we only can feel and sense through the body. So it's a good time to do a lot of grounding. Come into your physical awareness, do some meditation on your physical senses, maybe eat a wholesome meal, maybe look at some of your routines, your habits. What needs to be let go of is we're in the waning cycle of this last full moon. So what's coming to light where you can sort of focus in on, say, maybe some changes to your own habits and behaviors. Other than that, it's not a super eventful week ahead. We are ending the week with the sun moving closer towards a trine to Chiron, but that's more of a theme for the following week. So to close out today's session, remember that you are the one you have been waiting for. The best way to get into alignment with that of which you desire is to become the person that would live in that reality. If you had everything you needed, who would you be? If you had the best job, if you had the most beautiful relationship, if you were abundant with wealth, Who is that version of you? And your job is to step into alignment with that version of you. And the fastest way to manifest your ideal life and reality is to become the person that lives there. And this brings the power and responsibility back to the self. And the realization is this, is that what is most important in this world is you and your connection to source. Everything else comes secondary to that because that is the only primary thing that is eternal. All this other stuff, the government, relationships, your marriage, the boss, the job, the cow, the house, it's temporal. It's a temporal experience. Yes, some of these souls will meet again along our soul journey, of course, absolutely. So do unto others as you do unto yourself. However, really all this stuff that we're so hyper fixated on and we have to have or need or want, none of it really matters. You ain't taking it with you. We've been tricked and conditioned into this age of Pisces to think that this physical world is real and that anything outside of it is illusory. It's imagination. It doesn't exist. And the opposite is true. This physical world is the illusory temporal world. What is coming into the physical life, whether it be a brick or a stone or a rock or a plant or a tree or a bird or you, has a beginning, a birth. Therefore, whatever has a beginning, a birth, will have an end. But you are not that. You are not your body. You have a body. You are a soul experiencing a human experience. And the part of you that is the real part of you, there was no beginning and there'll be no end. It's eternal. This is the game forever. And you wake up to that realization, it helps you to reevaluate what the hell are we doing? And why am I giving so much power to things that are so far down on the hierarchy? Reconnect your relationship to your authentic true self and to source. Whether you want to call that the unified field or to God or the universe or they or she or whoever. But that is the awakening of the Christ consciousness within. That's the awakening of the knowing of who you are, not believing in something outside of you. Jesus isn't going to come back. That age is ended. The person you're waiting for is staring you in the mirror. And now, more than ever, that person needs you and the world around you does too. It's time. I'm Luke Balk from Astro Awakening. See you on the next video.